our look at sports on the baseball diamond, where the Yankees are fighters in the pennant race in the month of August. Well, not just fighting for a playoff spot, but literally fighting. The Yanks and Tigers engaged in 3 bench-clearing incidents in the same game Thursday afternoon, 8 ejections in total. Worst part for the Bronx Bombers in Detroit, they also lost 10-6. Even worse, they may lose the hot-hitting Gary Sanchez to suspension. Sanchez has belted 11 homers this month and gave the Pinstripers plenty to celebrate until Tigers star Miguel Cabrera and backup Yankee catcher Austin Romine exchanged punches. Miggy was hit by a pitch and Romine defended himself after the two exchanged words. Sanchez was part of what happened next. The Yanks are 4.5 back in the American League East, but lead the wild card by 3.5. They begin a 10-game homestand tonight in the Bronx, welcoming Seattle to the big ballpark. Tonight is Star Wars night at the stadium. Fans won't want to miss Aroldis Chapman bobblehead on Sunday either. Log on to Yankees.com for more info. And fans, don't be alarmed when you tune in to see the Yanks this weekend. It's MLB Players Weekend, and the team, for the first time, as previously mentioned here on the show, will be without their pinstripes. The Yanks haven't worn home jerseys without pinstripes in more than a century. The cool jerseys will also have names and nicknames on the back. Times are a-changing even on the baseball diamond. But perhaps not for the Mets, who continue to get hit by the injury bug. Standout Michael Conforto, an all-star this season, swung damn hard yesterday, so hard he dislocated his shoulder. He could be done for the season. It's been a long, hard road for the Mets in 2017. They lost 3-2 Thursday and are at Washington this weekend. The Mets also have essentially gutted their team of all of the veterans, sending Curtis Granderson to the L.A. Dodgers. The 36-year-old joins the best team in baseball. And despite a low batting average in 6 games in L.A., the Grandy man has already connected on 3 home runs, including one in the team's latest victory, the Dodgers' 90th of the season. It comes at the earliest point in the season by date or games played in franchise history. They became only the 12th team since 1900 to win 90 games or more in their first 126 games of a season, and only the 3rd to get there by August 25th, joining the 1998 New York Yankees and the 2001 Seattle Mariners. We shift gears and turn our attention to auto racing, where the action this past weekend in Long Pond, PA, gave new meaning to life in the fast lane. Talk about powering to the front. Penske's Will Power found victory lane at Pocono for the 2nd straight year. He overcame numerous obstacles to get to the front in the ABC Supply 500 at Pocono Raceway, holding off league points leader and teammate Joseph Newgarden to win the Verizon IndyCar Series race.
Seriously means a lot. I mean, I love racing on ovals. To come back and win it again in a very different way this year it was a crazy race, exciting for me, but yeah, it feels fantastic to be back to do back-to-back.
The 36-year-old Australian defeated Newgarden by 0.5268 of a second to become the first IndyCar driver to post back-to-back wins on the 3-turn oval in the event's 24-race history.
That's the beauty of the 500 milers. You can go to the back with 60 to go and go to the front again. You know, especially if you're on a little different fuel strategy and you're fast, you can get right back to the front. So I think a lot of it's credit to Will and his team, but I also think that's the way 500 miles race. If you're fast, you can go from the back to the front.
Lost in the buzz was another brilliant race from sophomore driver Alexander Rossi, who took home his 2nd podium in the past 3 races with a 3rd-place finish.
And I had a smile on my face the whole race. I mean, it's rare that you don't driving Indy cars, especially the tracks as awesome as this. So, you know, I had fun for the entire race, and anytime you're leading, there's some satisfaction.
Designed by the 1959 and 1962 Indy 500 winner Roger Ward, Pocono Raceway has a unique design. Each turn is modeled after turns at 3 different tracks. Turn 1, which has a 14-degree banking, was modeled after the now defunct Trenton Speedway. Turn 2, also known as the Tunnel Turn, is like Indianapolis Motor Speedway, 9-degree banking, and Turn 3, 6-degree banking, is similar to the Milwaukee Mile. It could be said to be a tri-oval, but the turns are much more severe than those of a more typical tri-oval such as Daytona, and the track is really nearly a triangle. So cool. IndyCar will be in Madison, Illinois this weekend. 3 races left on the schedule, including Watkins Glen in 2 weeks. We will have an expanded look at Pocono on our next Sports NYC, as well as an insider look at the tires that make champions and IndyCar. This will be a big weekend in boxing and the MMA world, with Mayweather and McGregor set for their long-anticipated showdown in Las Vegas. A champion will be crowned. More on that in the C list. Closer to home, one boxer in New York has set his sights on being a champion too. They call him the Young God. Here's more with Junior Yonan.
Junior Yonan, the Young God. I'm a super middleweight professional fighter. I first started boxing when I was about 3 or 4 years old, and what drew me into boxing is that, my father did it. I fell in love with it at a young age. My father definitely is the biggest part of my success because, he's trained me since I was a baby. I didn't go out and play with my friends. I was in the gym all the time, and growing up in the gym was tough because I was always the youngest, so I would always have to spar with the older guys. But it was very beneficial because I learned a lot from being around everybody who was older than me and being in that atmosphere. My first real fight was 8 years old. It was in Rochester, New York. It was the state silver gloves. And I lost, but I bounced back, a couple months later, I won my first fight, and it was history from there. Getting ready for a fight is very strict. Gotta eat right, gotta sleep early, can't go out, can't eat what I want. That helps me a lot. I bust my butt in the gym. I study a lot. I watch Andre Ward, I watch Roy Jones. I'm a boxing fan. I think what drives me is just the hate for losing. My last fight was my toughest so far. My opponents always try to get in my head because they know, he's young. He definitely, pushed me to bite down and win the fight. On that card in Vegas, it was an amazing experience and it brought my confidence up. I definitely feel like there's some pressure on me. That's what makes people, go harder. That pressure should drive you. I love being on a big stage. I love, feeling like my back's against the wall. And signing to Roc Nation, you get a little buzz. It's amazing. Every fighter dreams about fighting on the biggest card of the year. To be a part of something like that is, it's a dream come true. Just keep pushing forward. It's a long journey. It's a roller coaster. But it's fun.
Great job by camera/editor Jorge Gomez. Expect to see more from Junior in the very near future. Don't expect to see more from UFC star Jon Jones, though. Jones beat Daniel Cormier at UFC 214 to claim the UFC light heavyweight championship, but now has tested positive once again for steroids. He will likely be stripped of his belt for a second time. Jones, arguably in the conversation for greatest MMA fighter of all time, has previously tested positive for roids and other drugs like cocaine. The UFC announced Tuesday that Jones tested positive for a banned substance after being tested July 28th following his weigh-in ahead of UFC 214. Sad news there. And MLS soccer, NYCFC and the Red Bulls meet tonight in New Jersey at Red Bull Arena. NYCFC won the last meeting 3-2. Those games have been classic for the most part. NYCFC is in second place in the league standings. The Red Bulls are in fifth. From the gridiron, the Giants are 0-2 in preseason football. Star Odell Beckham Jr. twisted his ankle last time out and could miss the season opener in Dallas. OBJ is receiving laser treatment on the ankle to expedite the healing process. Could be an issue for him and Big Blue. The Jets are 1-1 in the preseason, although that never really seems to matter. But for Gang Green and the G-Men, Saturday night's matchup at MetLife Stadium may have more juice than most preseason games. The two will play each other, and East Rutherford, that game gets rolling at 7 p.m. Former Jet star Joe Klecko will have to wait at least another year for induction into the Pro Football Hall of Fame. The senior committee bypassed Joe and selected 2 other senior finalists, including Packers legend Jerry Kramer this week. I still expect to see the Jet great in Canton someday. You may see Anquan Boldin in Canton someday, too. After signing with the Buffalo Bills this offseason, the star wide receiver decided to call it quits before the preseason was up. Boldin was Robin to Batman at his height in Arizona, teaming with Larry Fitzgerald for a memorable Super Bowl run. The Boston Celtics are looking to make a memorable NBA Finals run this year. They made a blockbuster deal with rival Cleveland earlier this week. Isaiah Thomas, two others, and the Brooklyn Nets unprotected 2018 first-rounder to the Cavs for Kyrie Irving. It was some haul for Irving, considering that the Cavs get a pick, the exceptional Thomas, and Jay Crowder, but Thomas is coming off a bad hip injury. I was more surprised that the Celtics would trade a guy that played the day after his sister was tragically killed. Boston has remade essentially its entire roster. Should be fun when Boston and Cleveland, the East Finals participants, square off on opening night in the NBA. Mark your calendars, that's October the 17th. Newest Brooklyn Net guard D'Angelo Russell has a chip on his shoulder, and he's going to try to put it to good use during his first season in the BK. He has predicted playoffs for the team. I want teams to hate us, Russell said Thursday at the Nets summer basketball camp, according to reports. We've struggled over the last few years in Brooklyn. Teams are used to coming in and taking nights off. I just want to rebuild and make it a place where people come and say, all right, we got the crowd against us. It's New York. Russell added that he likes how the Nets are positioned after acquiring several players who figure to be motivated after they were traded to Brooklyn this summer. And on a final sports roundup note, BronxNet will be motivated for some bragging rights this Sunday, August 27th, against Latino sports in our annual basketball extravaganza. Come out for the 23rd annual Celebrity Basketball Family Day. Those are the headlines. We hit the C-list for that fearless Mayweather-McGregor prediction I promised you. Saturday night, we get answers. Pretty boy Floyd Mayweather is 49-0 and arguably the greatest of all time, joining a conversation that includes the likes of Muhammad Ali, Joe Louis, and Rocky Marciano, whose perfect 49-0 record he will be looking to top. There's no doubt about Floyd's dominance over the sport. My concern for Floyd, despite facing a fighter that has never been a professional boxer, is his age. I understand he's not a typical 40-year-old, but given Conor McGregor's height advantage, reach advantage, and his age, he's 29, I think he has a better shot than most people think. I think he has a puncher's chance. McGregor figures to be 15 to 20 pounds heavier than Mayweather on fight night after getting down to the 154-pound limit for Friday's weigh-in. McGregor, who will have a 2-inch reach advantage, is arguably the best knockout artist in the UFC. He was a 2-belt champion in the UFC, but of course, the question is whether or not he'll be able to touch Floyd, who is notoriously known for being the best defensive boxer, maybe of all time. The 8-ounce gloves the two agreed on, I believe, will help Conor more than Mayweather. More bets have been placed on Conor in Las Vegas, but in the end, more money has been laid down on Mayweather, the logical choice given his record and dominance over the sport. Nonetheless, I think McGregor is the most unconventional fighter we have ever seen. He's left-handed, which should give Floyd fits. And if somehow McGregor can hit Floyd, I think he will hurt him. I wouldn't be surprised if something crazy happens and we see a rematch. But after plenty of thought on the topic, I'm still convinced that McGregor is going to shock the world and beat Mayweather on Saturday night. The main card gets going at 9 p.m. on pay-per-view. Chime in on social media. Let us know who you think is going to win the big fight. More open after this.